guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Today, a little bit of a different take on a few watches. I wanted to show you my personal 3 favorite watches on DelReyWatch.com. Obviously, the link to these watches will be below, and this is based entirely on my personal taste. So you may agree, you may disagree, but I figure you guys have watched me for this long and you like to know my takes. So let's talk about my personal 3 watches, my personal favorite 3 watches on DelReyWatch.com. First, we have this JLC Deep Sea Chronograph. This vintage reissue came out roughly 10 years ago in a limited production, which is a very faithful remake of a Jaeger they made in the past. I love everything about this. Obviously, stainless steel, 42mm case, rotating bezel in one direction, which I'm not going to rotate with gloves because it's difficult, but it's got 100 meters water resistance in a chronograph and without a screw down crown. This is a true chronograph dive watch, old style. 2 things people love, dive watches and chronographs. Usually they're made chunky, thick, and ugly, but this is a beautiful vintage inspired reference. It even comes on the tropical strap. Now, as you can see, in-house chrono here by Jaeger, solid case back with Jaeger's diving logo. Now, what is that white dot? Well, that is an indicator to see if the chronograph is running. So you start the chronograph and you see it goes halfway. You pause it and it goes red to show you that it stopped. And then you reset it and it goes back to white. So chronograph, rotating bezel, slim case, 42mm. I actually really love the strap as well. It wears smaller than it would suggest. Once again, it is a vintage inspired reference, but here you get a sports watch from the watchmaker's watchmaker, fully in-house column wheel chronograph movement, an edition that was made for a very short amount of time. In fact, there's only 3 of them for sale in the entire world right now. And I just find this massively charming. This is before they started doing the faux Tina. So notice there is no faux Tina. There's fully functioning modern loom here, just in great proportions. No crazy case finishing. This is a utility watch, but it is extremely close to the original, which is what the charm is all about, in my opinion. Something Jaeger did for a little bit about a decade ago, and I just love it. These are actually very collectible as well, and they come with a vintage style box as well. Now, going into a different direction to independent watchmaking, we've got Habring, or Habring squared, however you want to call them. One of the best values in independent horology. What's there to say about this? I love it. This is the Habring Salmon dial. Already that Salmon dial and the blue indices, notice that grain on that Salmon dial. Just very, very well made. Stainless steel, 39mm, with that beautifully decorated movement. Now you might say, Federico, it's not quartz. But why is it ticking? Well, this has a very interesting complication called a deadbeat seconds. Essentially, the watch ticks for more accurate time. And you can see the mechanism right down there. So you have the balance wheel, then that gear is held onto the second hand. And as you can see, it's not ticking at 28,800 or 21,600. It's ticking at once per second. That's how they get the second hand to tick. And I also love that the second hand lines up perfectly with every hour marker, minute mark, or second marker, on the watch. Most high-end quartz watches don't even have that. I mean, this is done with gears. So the tooth ratio and the printing on the dial are perfectly synchronized. That is true quality. Simple case by Habring, small little company out of Austria, a husband and wife team. They only make maybe 100 or 200 watches a year, maybe a little more than that, but a very small production. And as you can see, true craftsmanship. Now, if you buy a Journe or a Moser, obviously those are higher end. Those are $20,000 to $50,000 to $70,000. This is under 10,000 with that very interesting complication, a very high level of finishing, and something that, apart from being beautiful, is also extremely rare. 38.5 millimeters, I believe, wears gorgeously. I would change the strap personally, even though this is the one that came on it. What's there not to love about this if you're a watch geek? True high horology, independent horology for a crazy price. And now a watch you don't see every day. Well, at least in this version. We have a Breguet Type 20 in yellow gold. Boy, do I love it. I love the Type 20 anyway, the 39 millimeter vintage inspired aviator's watch by Brigade, but in yellow gold, it's just gorgeous. Not rose, yellow, guys. Full-blown vintage style here. It even has yellow gold printing on the dial. 39 millimeters, rotating bezel. I'm not going to do it with my gloves once again. This one still has all the ink on the bezel as well. Lamania chronograph movement, and it's a flyback, which is great as well. Automatic, solid gold deployant. Now this, what I love about this is just the proportions. Some people would say it's small for an aviator's watch, but I actually think, and it does wear a little small, I think it's extremely elegant, and it's just perfect. I always love the stainless steel, but this gold version is so rare. This is the first one I've ever held in my hands. It's got the date, it's got the chronograph, it's got the syringe style hands, that manual wind movement, which is technically in-house because Swatch Group, which owns Breguet, also owns Lamania. I absolutely love it. In fact, this one strikes my fancy so much just in a design aspect that if it's still not sold in 60 days, mark my words, I'm saying it here on YouTube on video, I am gonna purchase it for myself. As we see here, solid gold case back, 100 meters water resistance. This does have a screw down crown. It's got the Breguet coin-edged case. It's got a little schmutz in there. I'm gonna clean that out after. Should have done that before the video, but c'est la vie, as they say in France. And just a stunning watch with an interesting mix of like vintage vibes from the era, but also 80s vibes because of the gold. I think this watch has a ton of personality, and you know what? Not particularly expensive either for a solid gold watch, let alone a solid gold Breguet. I'm smitten with this thing, and I hope it ends up in my collection. So we have the Breguet, the JLC Deep Sea Chronograph, and the Habring Salmon dials. My 3 favorite watches on delraywatch.com. Link in the description below if you want to check them out, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much, and take care.